You know that feeling? Like you're paddling really hard, maybe even feel like you're moving, but
Yeah.
you're not actually heading where you want to go.
Right.
Like you're stuck in this, I don't know, this current kind of riptide of shoulds, maybe, expectations from everywhere but you.
Oh, absolutely. That sense of just being pulled along, it's incredibly common. You're overwhelmed by everything you think you have to do.
Yeah, just reacting, rushing around, mistaking all that motion for actual meaning.
Right. Perpetually busy, but maybe feeling a little hollow underneath it all.
Exactly. And well, that feeling, that's really our starting point for this deep dive today. We've been looking into a bunch of sources, all centered around this idea of the art of intentional living.
Yeah, pulling together some really powerful lessons, actually, some from ancient Stoic thinkers, blended with, more modern takes.
So our mission, really, is to unpack what these sources are saying, to figure out how you step out of that current.
How do you stop just reacting all the time
Yeah.
and start, actively shaping a life that feels like it's truly yours?
A life with less of that constant pressure to do and definitely less of that endless comparison game. So we're going to dig into some really core questions the material brings up, like how do you even tell what's actually in your control when everything feels so chaotic?
Yeah, and how do you find your own values amid all that noise?
Yeah.
The constant input from outside.
And maybe the big one, what are you really chasing, like deep down? And is it worth the cost? Worth all that energy?
We'll look at how wisdom from people like, say, Marcus Aurelius, his perspective is incredible, or Epictetus, who really pushes us to focus only on what we can influence.
How that stuff is still so relevant.
Totally. And how it connects to modern ideas, too. People like Tara Brach talking about radical acceptance, or even just the psychological weight of, like, Instagram envy and digital comparison.
Yeah. And the sources seem to suggest this whole thing, this journey, it starts with something pretty simple, actually. Just moments of quiet, reflection.
Asking yourself that one powerful question.
What truly brings you joy?
That question really is the key, isn't it? The sources often describe life feeling like this relentless current just sweeping you along.
Right.
But someone like Marcus Aurelius would say, well, you can't always control the current itself, but you can choose how you navigate it.
Yeah.
Those shoulds you mentioned, they're heavy.
Definitely.
So intentional living, it starts with that core Stoic idea.
Yeah.
Really getting clear on what's in your control. Your thoughts, reactions, effort, and what absolutely isn't.
Which makes me think straight away of Epictetus. It's not what happens to you, but how you react.
That matters.
Yeah.
Classic.
But okay, if you are feeling lost in that current, just reacting constantly, how do you even find the space to choose your reaction? How do you access, like, your own judgment, your values? The stuff Marcus Aurelius says is the only thing that's really yours.
Right. And that's where the sources really push for self-reflection. It means, actually carving out time with yourself, no scrolling, no demands from others, solitude. Have you actually built that into your life? Because it's in that quiet space you start hearing your own voice again, separate from the crowd. You can ponder that question. What genuinely brings me joy? And then, okay, based on that, what deserves my energy?
Because if you don't make that space, you're just pinballing, right?
Yeah.
From one demand to the next.
Exactly. You get totally focused on the external stuff, achievements, comparing yourself, meeting expectations that maybe aren't even yours to begin with.
Feels like running someone else's race.
Precisely. The sources are really clear on this. Comparing your unique journey to someone else's highlight reel. It's pointless. You have your own path, your own inner world. The focus has to shift, fundamentally, away from winning some race defined by others towards running your race well, according to your own compass. Success, in this view, it's not about the trophies, it's the quality of your inner life, your thoughts, your character.
That sounds liberating, but man, it's hard to shake that feeling that if you're not constantly hustling, constantly doing, you're somehow, falling behind.
Oh, the modern world definitely screams more, doesn't it? Constant motion, external winds. But intentional living isn't about doing less, necessarily. It's about doing what truly lines up with your values, what brings you meaning. So the sources talk about simplifying, actively cutting out things, commitments, possessions, maybe even habits that don't actually serve your deeper goals or your well-being.
And that brings you right back to that question, doesn't it?
Face to face with it. What am I chasing? And is the cost, my time, my peace, my actual self, is it worth it?
It really makes you pause. Like, am I pouring everything into something I've just been told I should want? Something that looks good on the outside.
Instead of something that actually nourishes you internally,
Yeah.
doing that kind of introspection, that's the real challenge. It
Yeah.
requires that intentional shift. The sources say again and again, chasing happiness only through external stuff, fleeting pleasures, likes on social media, just leads to frustration or
Right.
feeling empty.
Why doesn't that work?
Because deep, lasting happiness, it's not out there. It's described as an inward journey, a return to your core. Eudaimonia, that Stoic idea of flourishing, it's not just about feeling good or looking successful. It comes from living in alignment with your truest self.
And that idea, aligning with your true self, that connects right into dealing with challenges, right? Building resilience,
Right.
which the material also gets into. Seneca had that great line.
We suffer more often in imagination than in reality.
That's the one. Yeah.
Such a profound point.
Mm.
And the sources suggest that kind of wisdom, that perspective to face difficulty gracefully. You don't have to wait until you're old and gray to get it.
Mm.
What if you could actively cultivate it? Sort of shortcut the long, hard road by distilling lessons from life right now.
Especially since life will throw curveballs. Adversity isn't just tough, it can be a serious teacher.
The Stoics didn't just put up with obstacles. They saw them as fuel, catalysts.
Yeah.
Marcus Aurelius nailed it. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Adversity doesn't have to crush you. It can reshape you,
Yeah.
force you to find strengths you didn't know you had, grow beyond what you thought your limits were.
Yeah.
It teaches patience, fortitude, humility, finding meaning even when things are uncomfortable.
One of the best metaphors for this in the sources is kintsugi.
Kintsugi, yes. The Japanese art, repairing broken pottery with gold lacquer.
Yeah.
And the amazing idea isn't to hide the cracks, but to highlight them.
Mm.
The object becomes more beautiful, more unique, because it was broken, because of its history.
It's such a powerful image for resilience, isn't it? That our scars aren't flaws we should hide. They're proof of healing, of overcoming.
Totally. The author of one source shares this really personal story, facing this devastating career loss around 40,
Wow.
after climbing the ladder really fast, hitting success at 38, then suddenly gone, deep in debt.
Wow, that's rough.
Yeah. But as the shock wore off, they started seeing the deeper cracks underneath the shiny surface of that successful life. Strained relationships, this nagging feeling of emptiness. That whole curated version of success just crumbled. And it forced them to look at the fractures within themselves. And the sources stress it was by embracing those breaks, choosing self-examination, vulnerability. That's where the real healing started. The gold filling those cracks wasn't just time passing. It was conscious change, hard-won self-awareness, radical acceptance.
So sometimes you have to be broken open.
The material suggests exactly that, to truly discover what you're capable of transforming into.
You see that pattern everywhere, too. Edison failing thousands of times.
Like Oprah getting fired early on and using it as fuel.
You're right, brothers. Just failing and failing until they flew.
Exactly. The sources frame these things not as failures, but as essential steps. Learning, growing.
So how do you actually cultivate that resilience? Are there practical things?
Yeah, they offer quite a few strategies. Things like consciously reframing setbacks, seeing them as chances to learn. Practicing self-compassion instead of beating yourself up. Developing a growth mindset, seeing abilities as something you can develop, not just fixed traits.
Building a support network, too, I bet.
Crucial. Building that network, leaning into reflection after tough times, celebrating tiny bits of progress, seeking wisdom from mentors, people who've navigated their own storms.
It really seems to boil down to that equation they mentioned. Adversity plus reflection, growth.
Exactly. It's not just bouncing back, it's bouncing forward,
Yeah.
stronger, wiser, because of what you went through.
Okay, so moving through adversity, that often throws another challenge right in your face, the comparison trap.
Oh, huge. The sources spend a lot of time on this, how we're just bombarded subtly, constantly, with messages about what successful or attractive or worthy looks like.
Usually tied to external stuff, right? Money, looks, fitting in.
Exactly. And then the digital age just pours gasoline on that fire. Social media is this relentless stream of curated perfection, polished, filtered, often miles away from reality.
And you end up measuring your own messy real life against these impossible ideals, like being stuck in a comparison cell you built yourself.
And this conditioning creates this deep-seated feeling of not being enough. Our choices, our ambitions, even our daily routines get subtly twisted by these invisible pressures. It's this constant internal battle. What do I want versus what will get approval?
The sources ask a really sharp question there. Who are you letting define your worth?
Yeah. And it ties back to Marcus Aurelius again. He talked about how the consequences of anger are often worse than the causes.
Right.
Well, they argue the same applies to envy and comparison. The long-term damage, low self-esteem, chronic dissatisfaction, just feeling unhappy, it's way worse than the initial sting of seeing someone else's highlight.
They share some powerful examples too, don't they? Lisa, the painter who became a lawyer.
Right, because of family pressure and wanting a certain kind of success.
Yeah.
Or Sarah, endlessly scrolling LinkedIn, feeling inadequate about her career paths compared to others.
Both trapped by that fear of not measuring up to some external benchmark.
And that constant loop of what ifs and should haves,
Yeah.
it's not just distracting, it's mental clutter. It stops you from seeing and valuing your own unique path.
So how do you break free? It feels so ingrained.
The sources point to a really deliberate, almost radical shift. Changing where you look for validation, moving it from out there to in here.
Inside yourself.
Exactly. This is deeply Stoic. The ancients taught that real contentment, inner peace. It comes from living by your own principles, your own virtues, regardless of what anyone else thinks.
So your values become the foundation, not fleeting trends.
Your values are the bedrock, unshakable.
Yeah.
Think of Henry's story leaving that high-paying corporate job to become a broadcaster, even though people disapproved.
Yeah.
He found the fulfillment of living authentically, following his own call. It massively outweighed the discomfort of being judged or misunderstood.
That ability to just liberate yourself from what you think others expect, that feels incredibly powerful. It lets you reclaim your own choices, trust your gut.
And finally hear that quiet inner voice that gets drowned out otherwise.
And social media, like you said, just ramps this all up.
Undeniably. The platforms are literally designed to keep you hooked, often by showing you idealized stuff that makes you feel inadequate. Research, they cite, confirms it. Even just limiting social media can significantly reduce loneliness and depression.
It's so important to remember what's behind the curtain, too. Like that fitness influencer, Daniel, looked perfect online, but struggled massively with anxiety and pressure.
Right. So many people who seem to have it all online feel trapped by the expectations they perceive, or maybe even help create.
So practical steps. How do you actually navigate this?
The sources offer a ton. Deep self-inquiry is big. Why am I really doing this? Is it for me or for them? Negative visualization, thinking about the worst outcome of not following your authentic path.
Interesting. What else?
Reframing criticism, consciously shifting perspective, using daily affirmations based on self-worth, deliberately limiting social media, practicing gratitude for what you do have.
Celebrating others' wins without it making you feel like a failure. That's a hard one.
It is, but crucial. Focusing intentionally on your personal growth trajectory. Mindfulness helps. Digital detoxes, seeking mentors who seem genuinely authentic, journaling about your values, setting clear boundaries around your time and energy.
It's not about blocking all feedback then, more like filtering it.
Exactly. Filtering it through the lens of your values, your goals, discerning what helps you grow versus what's just noise. Like Emma, navigating that big career change, she constantly filtered feedback through her core values, balancing humility to learn with self-trust to stay her course.
And the neuroscience backs this up.
Yeah, seeking external validation can actually trigger stress responses. But intrinsic motivation, doing things because they align with your values, that activates reward pathways. Leads to more sustained effort, real satisfaction. Practices like compassion meditation are even shown to physically increase self-acceptance.
Wow. So ultimately, freedom comes from owning your journey, tending your own garden, as they say.
Comparing yourself only to who you were yesterday, not who someone else seems to be today.
Which flows really nicely into the next idea. Finding freedom not just from comparison, but from the weight of stuff. Accumulation. Epictetus again, right? Wealth consists not in having great possessions,
But in having few wants.
yes.
Spot on.
And in our world, we're constantly told success and happiness are measured by what we own. More, more, more. Bigger house, faster car.
The latest gadget. But that relentless chase often leads to emptiness, doesn't it? A quick high, then just dust gathering on things we don't even use.
But the sources take this broader, don't they? Not just physical clutter.
Right, they talk about toxic possessions in a much wider sense. Relationships, habits, mindsets, even old grudges we hang on to. Things that drain our energy, chip away at our self-worth, keep us stuck.
Toxic relationships feel like a particularly heavy one. They're meant to support you, but some just trap you. Conflict, guilt, feeling drained.
Maria's story in the source material is so powerful here. Trapped in an abusive marriage for years, paralyzed by fear, financial fear, fear for her kids, fear of judgment. But the courage she found wasn't just an enduring, it was making that terrifying choice to change her life. Leaving wasn't easy at all. Uncertainty, financial struggle. But as she went through it, she started rediscovering herself, feeling empowered. Letting go wasn't cruel. It was profound self-respect, self-preservation.
Her story really hits home that true wealth, that feeling of abundance. It comes from needing little, and that applies just as much to emotional space as physical space.
Definitely. And the sources give practical steps for this too, like distinguishing needs from wants. Does this really serve a purpose? Does it bring joy that aligns with my values?
The one in, one out rule, not just for stuff, but commitments too.
Exactly. For commitments, emotional bandwidth, regular decluttering sessions, physical and emotional, and practicing mindful reflection before you acquire something new or say yes to something.
You can almost feel the psychological relief they talk about just thinking about letting go. They mention studies showing simplification reduces stress, increases clarity.
It's a release, mentally, emotionally, physically. It's about embracing a kind of balanced minimalism, quality over quantity, surrounding yourself with what genuinely enriches your life, not just distractions or burdens.
So clearing out your space physically and emotionally helps you see what actually matters, creates room.
Precisely. So letting go isn't about depriving yourself. It's about gaining clarity, connection, freedom, actively reclaiming your life from the things weighing you down.
And another form of reclaiming they discuss is reclaiming beauty, our definition of it.
Yes, society pushes this really rigid, narrow, often impossible ideal, doesn't it? Glorifying youth, specific body types, airbrush perfection.
But what if beauty was something we defined internally? Epictetus again. No man is free who is not master of himself. And that mastery has to include breaking free from those beauty standards.
Absolutely. Those narrow ideals don't just make people unhappy. They fuel huge industries, perpetuate comparison, insecurity, self-doubt. Thankfully, the sources note things like body positivity, body neutrality. They're gaining ground, challenging norms, celebrating diversity.
The idea that beauty isn't about achieving perfection, but embodying confidence, authenticity, self-love.
Imagine reframing the lines on your face not as flaws, but as maps of wisdom earned. Scars not as imperfections, but proof of resilience. Your body tells a story.
Stretch marks speak of growth, wrinkles of a life lived, scars of survival.
They're not failures. They're testaments to life. And the Stoics fundamentally valued inner qualities anyway. Character, compassion, wisdom, courage.
And those things, unlike fleeting looks, only get deeper and brighter with time.
Right. True confidence, the sources argue, comes from accepting ourselves fully. Right now, aging happens. How we treat our bodies through that journey, that's in our control.
Think about the sheer energy spent chasing some impossible ideal, judging ourselves, worrying. What if even a fraction of that went into relationships, skills, passions?
Exactly. Self-acceptance frees up so much mental space previously clogged with self-criticism. The focus shifts entirely to cultivating inner beauty.
Acts of kindness, moments of courage, wisdom gained. That's the real beauty.
Practices suggested include daily gratitude for what your body can do, deliberately focusing on values and character over appearance, celebrating beauty in others without letting it trigger comparison.
The story of Lizzie Velasquez is just incredible here. Born with that rare condition labeled world's ugliest woman.
Horrifying. But instead of being crushed, she tapped into something like Stoic strength, focused on what she could control, her response, her attitude, her growth.
And became this powerful speaker, anti-bullying advocate, redefining beauty through her character and resilience.
Her story just powerfully shows beauty isn't skin deep. It's a reflection of a life lived with intention, with courage. It's a radical shift, choosing to see beauty in yourself based on the richness of who you are, not just how you look according to someone else's rules.
Reclaiming beauty, letting go, escaping comparison. These all feel like vital steps towards maybe the biggest piece, finding your purpose. Like JFK said, efforts and courage are not enough without purpose and direction.
Right? Humanity's been wrestling with meaning forever. Why am I here? What's my contribution? And modern measures, degrees, bank balance, job titles often feel hollow against that deeper craving for direction, something aligned with values.
The source material digs into this through different cultural ideas, especially Ikigai from Japan.
Ikigai, yeah. Roughly a reason for being. It's finding that sweet spot where what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for all overlap.
But it's not necessarily about one huge achievement, right?
Yeah, that's key. Unlike some Western ideas, Ikigai celebrates meaning in small, daily things, too. The story of Taro the fisherman illustrates this perfectly. His life might seem simple, but providing for family, connecting with nature, his community role, that brings him deep, authentic meaning.
And other cultures have similar wisdom. Hindu dharma duty, contributing through your role.
And Ubuntu from Southern Africa, that powerful idea of, I am because we are. Your purpose is tied to the community's well-being.
Lindewe, the retired teacher, tutoring kids under a tree.
Beautiful example of Ubuntu. Her purpose isn't a salary anymore, it's ensuring the next generation thrives. Her meaning reflects the community flourishing.
And the Stoics, with eudaimonia, flourishing by living in line with your nature, cultivating virtue, contributing. Marcus Aurelius, what we do now echoes in eternity. Even small actions matter.
And finding purpose brings us right back to redefining success. Society's markers are often fleeting. Real fulfillment, the sources argue, comes from aligning your daily actions, skills, passions with your core values and that sense of purpose.
Like Amara, the software engineer who left a huge salary after encountering Dharma.
To start a nonprofit using tech for social good. A powerful modern example of redefining success on our own terms.
Doing that takes real courage, though. How do you clarify your own purpose?
The sources suggest deep reflection. What are your passions, talents? What makes you lose track of time? What needs do you see in the world that your skills could maybe address?
Start small, experiment.
Exactly. Like Maria the baker, starting by baking for shelters, finding purpose grow from simple acts. Mindfulness helps reveal what resonates. Gratitude, too. And accepting that purpose isn't fixed, it evolves as you do.
And science backs this up. Living with purpose is good for you.
Strongly linked to better physical and mental health, resilience, even longevity. It activates the brain's reward system not from external wins, but from meaningful engagement.
That Ikigai visual, the 4 overlapping circles, sounds like a helpful tool. Love, good at, world needs can be paid for.
It can be, yeah. A way to map out that intersection for yourself. Ultimately, a purpose-driven life isn't about ditching ambition, but aligning your efforts with what truly matters to you, how you want to contribute.
And it doesn't have to be huge, world-changing stuff.
Not at all. It can be simple, local, quiet, but deeply fulfilling because it resonates with your core.
And living aligned with purpose often unlocks something else. Choosing happiness without feeling guilty about it, which ties back to eudaimonia, right? Flourishing.
Yes. Yet so many of us really struggle with prioritizing our own happiness. We get these messages that it's selfish, that endless self-sacrifice is the noble thing. But the sources push back hard on that. True generosity, sustainable contribution, it flows from abundance, not depletion. Taking care of yourself isn't selfish, it's essential. It lets you show up more fully, be more present, contribute more meaningfully.
They really try to debunk that selfishness myth. Stories like Marta, the caregiver, burning out.
Or David, always carrying everyone else's load until a crisis forced him to accept help. Realizing his own worth mattered too.
Choosing happiness isn't about ignoring problems then. It's small, daily actions.
Exactly. Identifying tiny moments of real joy. Setting healthy boundaries, which often means learning to say no sometimes. Actively practicing self-compassion. Ahmed, the community organizer they mentioned, learned to schedule non-negotiable time for his own well-being.
And found it made him more effective, not less.
More effective and sustainable. Happier too. It's a powerful reminder, isn't it? We often wait for a crisis illness, burnout, before giving ourselves permission to prioritize happiness.
Bronnie Ware's work with palliative care patients. That top regret. I wish I'd let myself be happier.
Chilling, isn't it? Happiness isn't a luxury for later. It's something to choose to cultivate, day by day.
And other cultures reinforce this. Danish Hig.
Finding joy in simple moments, connection. Ubuntu personal well-being fuels the collective. Eudaimonia flourishing results from living aligned with virtue.
And the science shows happiness ripples outwards.
Dr. Christakis' research, emotions spread. Think of Ms. Perez, the teacher starting her day with gratitude. It created a more joyful classroom, shaping her students' outlook.
So practical steps again. Gratitude journaling, self-care rituals, doing things you genuinely enjoy.
Seeking support when you need it. Actively challenging those ingrained beliefs that say prioritizing yourself is wrong. Neuroscience confirms it. Prioritizing joy, gratitude, self-care reduces stress hormones, improves health, strengthens relationships, rewires the brain towards positivity.
Choosing happiness is an act of courage, self-respect, love for yourself and others. Recognizing your well-being is the foundation.
Which leads us right into how we redefine success and set goals that align with all this. The sources are clear. Success isn't some fixed point you reach. It shifts as we shift. What mattered at 20 often doesn't at 40 or 50. That's growth, not failure.
Epictetus again. First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Clarify who you want to become, not just what you want to achieve.
Exactly. The character you want to embody, the values you want to live by. Not just ticking off external accomplishments. Think of Lisa, the attorney we mentioned. Shifting focus from partner track to family time and volunteering. Looked like stepping back, maybe. But for her, it was a profound redefinition of success. Deeper purpose, more joy.
Or James, leaving the corporate ladder for woodworking. Less income, way more happiness and purpose.
Letting go of old goals, goals driven by shoulds or external validation. That takes courage. And self-compassion.
So aligning goals with current passions and values is key. Asking, what makes you feel alive? What would you do even without reward? What impact do you want to have?
Like Priya, moving from finance to personal training. Challenging, yes, but deeply aligned with her passion for health and helping others. A different, more resonant success.
Setting value-driven goals means they're rooted in you. And being flexible.
Yeah, adaptable. As things change, as you learn more about yourself, the Stoic view is potent here. True success is inner virtue, living in harmony with your nature, aligning life with values and passions, focusing on the process, not just the outcome.
The story about the author's son, Sebastian, the soccer player, his success wasn't winning, it was getting better. The practice.
Even when no one was watching. That relentless focus on effort, on growth, on the process, that's deep intentionality. Fulfillment is in the effort, the growth, not just crossing a finish line.
So frameworks for setting these goals. Start with values.
Deep reflection on core values. Honestly, compare current goals against them. Consciously let go of outdated ones. Set authentic new goals rooted in values and passions. Celebrate small wins. Seek support.
And the science agrees. Intrinsic goals lead to more satisfaction than extrinsic ones like wealth or status.
Consistently. Pursuing goals aligned with your values activates the brain's sustained reward system, makes the process itself more fulfilling. Redefining success is ongoing. Checking in, letting go of what no longer fits. Success isn't just external kudos, it's authentic alignment.
And finding that alignment, finding your own path, often means stepping back, doesn't it? Something Seneca really explored.
Absolutely. Modern life is just noise, constant distractions, busyness, chasing wealth, recognition. Seneca's antidote. Step back. Create space, reflect, realign. Your right path is personal, rooted in your values, your purpose, not trends.
And solitude was crucial for him.
Crucial. But not loneliness, he stressed. It's a sanctuary for deep reflection, growth. He said he shut himself up to be able to help a greater number. Stepping away from the noise lets you hear yourself think, clarify intentions, gain perspective.
The story about the author's son, Fabian, living that ascetic, intentional life, mastering languages not just for utility,
but to gain new perspectives, understand the world differently. His solitude isn't escaping the world. It's a chosen space to think, grow, learn on his own terms.
And even his struggles, feeling abandoned, navigating that through reflection, seeing how others can mirror our own issues. That's deep self-awareness.
Seneca also warned strongly against the gifts of fortune, inherited wealth, status, fame, potential traps.
We think that we hold them, but they hold us.
Exactly. The modern more is better chase often leaves us unsatisfied because we're chasing external things that ultimately trap us. True fulfillment, Seneca argued, is in how we live, our character, our inner state, not how much stuff we have.
David's story really shows this. The super successful exec, multi-million-dollar company, but felt empty.
Right? Had it all by societal standards, but was disconnected. A mindfulness retreat was his turning point. Questioning externally driven goals, redefining success, family time, volunteering, simplicity. Like Seneca said, it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor.
Seneca also pushed simplicity.
As a cornerstone, focus on what matters, strip away distractions, frees up energy from superficial stuff that weakens the soul. And philosophy wasn't academic for him, it was a practical tool for living well. Self-discipline, inner wisdom. That's freedom.
Amara, the teacher using Stoicism to cope with job stress, that shows how practical it is today.
Totally. By focusing on what you could control, thoughts, reactions, effort, she shifted perspective, reduced anxiety, engaged more intentionally.
That conversation with Seneca in the source material sounds vivid. Questor feeling lost, comparing.
And Seneca patiently explaining that comparison trap is ancient. What Questor sees is curated. He's unfairly comparing his messy inner life to someone's polished outside.
The garden analogy. You are gazing into the gardens of others while your own lies untended.
So potent. Virtue, wisdom, peace. They don't grow in someone else's garden. You have to cultivate your own.
Seneca keeps challenging him. What are you really chasing? Is it worth the price? Are you living your life?
And the path to freedom. Turn inward. Tend your garden. Discover what matters to you.
And journaling is presented as being that dialogue, right? Not reporting about life, but talking with your soul.
Exactly. Using prompts to explore who you are, what matters. Seneca's wisdom still rings true. Your path can't look like everyone else's. No two lives are the same. Focus on walking your path with integrity, authenticity, courage.
It's a lifelong practice.
Not a destination. His advice. Begin at once to live and count each separate day as a separate life. The only race worth running is against yourself becoming the best version of who you were meant to be.
Bringing this ancient wisdom into today is crucial, especially thinking about intentional living and the digital age.
Yeah, the sources share fascinating stuff from that smartphone experiment. Going tech-free for just 3 days showed how much constant connection messes with our attention, mood, control.
Sarah checking her phone 96 times a day, realizing the device controlled her.
It's a wake-up call. Reclaiming presence isn't about ditching tech completely. It's about choosing how and when you engage, intentionally.
The costs are real, though. Less productivity, more anxiety, fractured attention. The neuroscience behind it, the dopamine loops keeping us hooked.
And attention residue. Even short interruptions leave your brain partly focused on the old task, making it harder to fully engage with the new one.
Plus the modern challenges. Always-on work culture leading to burnout.
Social media amplifying inadequacy, linked to rising anxiety and depression. These demand intentional solutions. Self-mastery.
And intentional living provides that framework, consciously redefining your relationship with tech so it serves you, not the other way around. Digital minimalism.
Not necessarily fewer devices, but minimizing the time and mental energy they drain. Curating digital habits with intention.
Limiting screen time, batching email checks instead of reacting all day.
Using blockers for distractions during focus time. Creating conscious boundaries to protect your time, energy, focus from mindless scrolling.
And reclaiming energy means reclaiming attention. Deep work. Focus as a superpower.
Absolutely. Achieving flow total immersion leads to peak performance, creativity, deep fulfillment, scheduling dedicated, uninterrupted time, silencing notifications, setting clear intentions, choosing to do the right things with full attention.
The sources offer practical exercises too, a technology audit.
Yeah, tracking usage, honestly evaluating how devices make you feel, leads to intentional choices. Keep, limit, delete. The silence challenge, building in short phone-free periods daily, even 30 minutes. Meditate, reflect, journal.
And a digital declutter plan.
Identifying biggest time wasters, setting boundaries like no phones in the bedroom, scheduling detox periods, then reintroducing tech purposefully.
Choosing stillness, disconnecting. It feels like rebellion in our busy culture. Pascal was right. All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone.
Inspirational stories help too. Cal Newport's discipline protecting deep work. Arianna Huffington prioritizing sleep after burnout. Matt's 30-day digital detox. All show the power of intentionally changing your tech relationship.
So the journey starts small. Daily intention for phone use. Mini detox this weekend. Revisit the audit. Create a personal digital manifesto.
Exactly. Reflect, adapt. Arianna Huffington's story really shows how habits like detox and gratitude aren't just stress management. They can rewire your brain, improve focus, well-being. Her collapse was a wake-up call leading to fundamental change.
Consciously shaping that tech relationship starts now. Essential for an intentional life.
And really a bit more science in really underlines the power of these practices, like the 1-minute pause. Simple mindfulness, even super short bursts, can reduce activity in the brain's default mode network, the mind-wandering autopilot.
Quieting that frees up brain power for focus.
Right. That simple act, 1 minute an hour. Close eyes, deep breaths, set a micro-intention. It interrupts the stress cycle, calms the nervous system, helps refocus.
Gratitude practice 2 tangible brain effects.
Definitely. Consistently listing gratitudes shifts focus from lack to abundance. Strengthens neural pathways for positivity, resilience, especially in the prefrontal cortex, key for executive function, positive emotions.
And breaking down huge tasks into small steps, that reduces cognitive load, makes it feel doable.
Exactly. Overrides the overwhelm response, allows you to start. The sources also link intentional living directly to brain wiring. Using neuroscience to align with values involve the prefrontal cortex, our future self-center.
So journaling and reflection strengthen that part of the brain, making intentional planning easier over time.
Yes. And our reward system naturally seeks rewards. But focusing only on external one's money, status leads to chasing fleeting hits. Intrinsic motivation, pursuing growth, connection, contribution, activates the reward system sustainably. Deeper satisfaction.
Focusing on why a goal matters intrinsically helps keep you going.
Right. Visual frameworks help too, like an intentional living brain map connecting practices to brain regions, or a choice pyramid showing how small habits build towards big goals. Makes it tangible.
Knowledge is good, but action is key. The sources end with clear calls to action, journal prompts, habit challenges.
Yeah, like, what small habit can I start today to align my brain's wiring with my values? Or a 21-day intentional habit challenge.
Choose one small habit, 1-minute pause, gratitude list, less social media first thing, and do it consistently for 3 weeks.
Track progress, reflect on how it feels, builds momentum. It takes time to rewire pathways, but it starts with one conscious choice, repeated. Your brain is your ally. Understand it. Align habits with values. Powerful path to clarity, focus, fulfillment.
Start small, be consistent, reflect daily.
And so, we embrace this journey. Knowing intentional living isn't a straight line. Doubts, distractions, setbacks, they'll happen. The commitment is to keep returning to yourself, refining practices, deepening self-knowledge.
The Stoics remind us, freedom isn't controlling the outside world, it's mastering the inner one. Aligning actions with values builds peace, resilience. Things external stuff can't shake.
And returning to yourself after getting pulled off course. That's powerful. Ava, the painter returning to art after years in a should career. Her joy, creativity resurfaced, transformed her life. It's never too late to return to what makes you feel aligned.
And you're not alone in this. It's a shared human experience. The desire for meaning, authenticity, it's universal. Ancient wisdom, modern stories, they offer guidance, solidarity.
Mateo, the farmer, planting seeds of kindness and wisdom. His intentional journey rippled outwards, inspiring others just by living authentically.
Your journey is unique, though. Your pace, your rhythm. Trust your instincts, honor your individuality, let your path unfold shaped by your choices.
Living intentionally means finding meaning not just in big wins, but in the everyday beauty and purpose. Embrace the ordinary and the extraordinary. Daily reflection, celebrating progress, gratitude, adaptability, connection. All key.
And living authentically creates ripples. Rosa, the single mom pursuing music while raising kids, her dedication inspired them to chase their own dreams, showed them purpose firsthand.
These personal journeys aren't prescriptions. They're reflections of infinite possibilities. Fate throws challenges, circumstances you can't control. But you can choose how you respond, reflect, shape your life within those limits.
Use these lessons, stories, frameworks as tools. Fine-tune the life you want, on your terms. Courage, authenticity, purpose.
Intentional journaling is invaluable here. Processing emotions, finding clarity, uncovering limiting beliefs, staying aligned. Emma, the professional using it during a tough time, sought it as her internal compass.
Journaling brings self-awareness, right? Helps see patterns, brings clarity like shaking a snow globe of thoughts and letting them settle.
And accountability. Writing down intentions makes you more likely to follow through. It's highlighted as a fundamental pillar, bridging external noise and internal clarity, asking what truly matters.
Getting started is simple. Choose a time, a method. Start small.
It's exactly. Morning reflection, evening download, whenever needed. Pen and paper, digital app, whatever works. Answer one question, write 5 minutes, free write. Techniques like prompts, gratitude lists, reflective questions, deepen it over time, build it sustainably, fit it into your life. Release perfectionism. It's about process, not polish.
Journaling as a lifelong companion. A dialogue with your truest self.
Helping you navigate intentional living.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's remember the core journey. Intentional living isn't a destination. It's an ongoing practice. Aligning life with deepest values. Finding strength in adversity. Releasing what doesn't serve you. Cultivating inner fulfillment over external validation.
Key takeaways distilled from the sources. The power of perspective and resilience. Seeing setbacks as catalysts for growth, kintsugi, right? The freedom from the comparison trap when you seek internal validation.
That lightness from letting go of toxic possessions, physical clutter, emotional burdens, the empowerment of reclaiming beauty on your own terms, character, resilience, wisdom, not just societal standards.
Clarifying your unique purpose is vital. Ikigai, Dharma, Ubuntu, Eudaimonia. Understanding it doesn't have to be monumental. Using happiness isn't selfish. It's self-respect, creating positive ripples.
Redefining success based on who you want to become. Aligning goals with evolving values. Shifting focus from external wins to intrinsic fulfillment in effort and growth. Finding your unique path needs solitude, reflection, rejecting Seneca's tracts of fortune.
Navigating the modern world intentionally means conscious tech. Use audits, pauses, reclaiming attention. Leveraging journaling and basic neuroscience helps wire your brain for this life.
Remember, this journey is profoundly yours, your pace, your rhythm, but it's shared. You're definitely not alone seeking meaning, authenticity.
The shift starts small. Deliberate steps today. Reflect on these lessons. Choose one tiny practice. Adapt as you grow.
So we'll leave you with a final thought. A question, really, inspired by all this wisdom, something to carry forward. The journey is yours to shape. The possibilities are endless when you live intentionally. Consider this. What kind of person do you want to become, and how can you start living that life right now, today?